So it is Friday, so it means we are back with my weekly championship score predictions. We're reaching the final 10 games of the championship with matchday 37. As each championship game goes on, the stakes are just getting higher and higher with promotion to relegation. So I'm so excited to be predicting these championship fixtures this weekend. Before we move on, I'll include your comment if you got an FA Cup score prediction correctly. Only one of you got an FA Cup score prediction correctly. Well done, Nathan Brown. Once again, you got the Reading and Sheffield United game to end 2-1 to Sheffield United. I actually had a good FA Cup. I got 2 games correct. I got the Reading and Sheffield United, but I also predicted Tottenham and Norwich to draw 1-1. I may not have backed Norwich to win on penalties, but I am surprised I got that right actually. But as always, if you like what you see, you want to see more championship content from me, please make sure you do give this video a like. It is tremendously appreciated. Please subscribe if you haven't done, or if you're new around here. All of that will be fantastically appreciated. We're trying to grow the channel. That would be absolutely terrific. Please share the channel as well to as many championship fans or football fans as you can. Share not only this video, but this channel as well. All of that would be really appreciative. If you guys will also want to ask me anything outside of YouTube, my Twitter is always in the bottom right hand of the screen. Without any further ado, with some very key games, let's predict this weekend's games. So we'll start off with Nottingham Forest going up against Millwall. I remember the first fixture quite vividly. Millwall were 1-0 up and fantastic. Lewis Graben goes on. 2 minutes later he scores, and then 20 minutes later, well, Nottingham Forest weren't even playing that well, and Forest somehow go 2-1 up. But then Bryce Samba makes one of his few errors leading to goal for Aidan O'Brien to have an easy tap-in, and that made it 2-2. It was one of the few mistakes Bryce Samba's made because he's been a terrific goalkeeper this season. If you look at the form book, Nottingham Forest have not lost in their last 4 games and Millwall have not won in their last 3. So pretty varied runs of form by the both sides at the moment, but in terms of quality, they're not that far separated. They're only separated by 9 points, Millwall in 10th. I say they definitely need to get a maximum of 3 points Millwall if they want to have any chance of getting into the playoffs. But we've seen it with Nottingham Forest this season, sometimes where they can get it right, they tend to have a lapse in concentration, and I saw that against Middlesbrough. Whilst they took control, they lost concentration of a set piece, and all of a sudden Middlesbrough sprung to life, and then Forest were put on the back foot. So I think game management is what needs to be improved for Nottingham Forest. I think overall, I'm going to say that the sides will end with a draw. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. I think it'll be tight. I don't think Nottingham Forest having the home advantage will win. I'll say a 1-1 draw, but it'll be a very, very tight game. So next up, we've got Saturday's early game with Bristol City going up against Fulham. Bristol City are not on a great run of form at the moment, not winning in their last 5, 3 defeats in their last 4 games. As with Fulham, in terms of the teams in the playoffs, they seem to be more consistent at the moment, having back-to-back wins. Although Fulham weren't that strong in terms of their performances, I feel like in both games against Swansea and Preston, they could have been completely different results. But defensively, I actually think Fulham been okay, keeping 2 clean sheets in those back-to-back wins as well. Bristol City have a very strong record against Fulham in recent years. But having said that, I'm not confident. Naki Wells is in a goal drought at the moment. And with the confidence that Fulham have gained, getting 2 clean sheets, and I think they'll put themselves under pressure knowing that they could be the one side that could potentially end into the automatic promotion places. For me, I don't see any of the other top 6 getting there unless they put a good string of wins together. Fulham also been undefeated in their last 6 away games. I think I'm going to back Fulham for a win. I'm going to say a 2-1 away victory to Fulham. That's only because I'm not convinced with Bristol City at home, and Fulham look to be okay at the moment despite probably not playing at their best. I'll say 2-1 Fulham, but could easily go either way. So next up, we've got Charlton going up against Middlesbrough. Both these sides are not in good runs of form. If you put their last 6 games together, there are 8 defeats within those 12 matches. So both of these sides are in a bit of a losing run at the moment, especially with Middlesbrough. They've not won in their last 6 games, and resulting that had put them in the relegation zone. And I do feel sorry for Middlesbrough. I thought they were desperately unlucky against Nottingham Forest. Lewis Graben scored an arguably controversial goal, but I do agree with that equaliser. I don't think he did foul Pears in goal. Going to Charlton though, they're going to have to produce a response after being completely battered by Huddersfield. What concerns me is that how little they actually troubled Huddersfield. They had a spell in the second half, but apart from that, Huddersfield were completely rampant. But at the Valley, I think Charlton may be okay in this one. And I know Lee Bowyer is going to want a response from this side, and we have seen it before when sides get heavily beat. They tend to respond very, very well, and I actually think that will be the case. And with that, with Middlesbrough now being the lowest goal scorers in the league, I'm not backing them for a win. I'm going to say it'll be low scoring. I'm going to say a 1-0 home victory to Charlton. This is just based on pure instinct, but Charlton need this win. Only 1 point separates both of these sides. If Charlton can get a win, they could bridge a bit of a gap between them by Middlesbrough by 4 points, which may be important and will put significant pressure on Middlesbrough. I'll say 1-0 to Charlton. It'll be very tight. I'm looking forward to that game. So next up, we've got Barnsley going up against Cardiff. Barnsley last weekend had a very disappointing defeat against Reading. They did have chances, and Cabral had a fantastic performance in Reading's goal, making 2 brilliant acrobatic saves, being one of Reading's best players this season for me. As with Cardiff, they managed to draw with Brentford, which I think could be seen as a pretty good result considering that they were 2-0 down at the time, and with the chances, Cardiff probably should have been the one team to try and edge them, but they weren't clinical enough in the second half. Cardiff had a pretty strong record against Barnsley in recent years, with getting 3 wins out of their last 6 games against each other, but I do have a feeling that Barnsley are going to be scraping for their lives. They're 23rd at the moment, but they're not far away from getting out of the relegation zone, so we know that this is going to be a must win if they want to have any chance of survival and to try and bridge the gap. And I actually think they'll do this. I actually think they'll get a 2-0 home victory. I think we'll see Barnsley blow Cardiff away. Cardiff have been a bit of a disappointing run of form at the moment, not winning in their last 4 games, only picking up 2 draws in those 4 games as well. I think Cardiff will taste defeat here, but I could be wrong in this one, obviously. But I'll back Barnsley with a 2-0 home victory. So next up, we've got Birmingham going up against Reading. 15th versus 16th. 2 points separate each other. They're very, very tight, both of these sides. Birmingham's 13 unbeaten streak in all competitions ended when they lost 1-0 against Leicester in the FA Cup. To be honest, Leicester pulled a pretty strong squad out there, and I have to say Birmingham, I think, coped quite well, but ultimately Leicester were the better side. As with Reading, they also had FA Cup heartbreak when they lost 2-1 against Sheffield United. A little bit unfortunate once again, but I do agree that Sheffield United were the better side. For Reading did put a really good fight, but ultimately David McGoldrick and Billy Sharp were the difference in the end. In the first fixture, this was a really entertaining 3-2 away victory to Birmingham. So I hope to see the same amount of entertainment in this game, but I don't quite see it. I think both these sides will be a little bit tired, even though both squads were slightly rotated in the FA Cup. I think some that did start in that FA Cup game will start in this game and they'll be fatigued. I'm going to say it'll be a 1-1 draw. An alternative result was probably going to be 0-0, but I do think both of these sides will have something about them. I'll say a 1-1 draw. I don't think either side will win. So next up, we've got Brentford going up against Sheffield Wednesday. Brentford not on a strong run of form at the moment, not winning in their last 5 games. Of course, they did pick up 4 draws in the process, so at least they're actually gaining some points. As with Sheffield Wednesday, they've only amassed 1 win out of their last 6 games, so both these sides are not in very strong runs of form at the moment. Sheffield Wednesday may be a little bit fatigued. They had to play against Manchester City in the FA Cup. In the first half, I actually thought they did quite well. Did not allow Manchester City to have a shot on target. I believe that has not happened since 2018. Quite an achievement for Sheffield Wednesday. Having said that, eventually Manchester City got into control, Sergio Aguero being the difference. So Brentford could be the more energised side going into this game, and in Griffin Park, I don't actually think Brentford are playing that bad at home. I think their style of play does leave them exposed. They have a very high line, and if Sheffield Wednesday punches them on the counter-attack for the likes of Jacob Murphy or Josh Windass going forward, they could be severely punished for it. I do think Sheffield Wednesday will score in this game, even though they've not scored many goals. I'm going to say Brentford will edge it by 2-1. Probably quite bold from my part, since Brentford have not won in quite some time now. But Sheffield Wednesday being the poor run of form as they are, and with them being fatigued, I'm going to say it'll be a narrow 2-1 home victory to Brentford. I don't think they'll find it easy. So next I've got Preston going up against Queen's Park Rangers. Preston do have a very strong record against Queen's Park Rangers. However, Queen's Park Rangers managed to win against Preston for the first time in 6 games when they got a 2-0 home victory, their first clean sheet in the season. And it happened in December. But Eberechi Eze was absolutely sublime. Probably one of the better individual performances that I've seen in the Championship player in the season was at that game. He was absolutely terrific. Looking at their positions now, Preston are in a bit of a sticky run of form. They've had back-to-back defeats, although they were away games against West Brom and Fulham. So to be fair, Preston have had a pretty tough run-in. As with Queen's Park Rangers, they've actually not lost in their last 5 games, picking up 2 wins in the process. Preston has shown a little bit of fragility at home. They were, by a long way, the best home team in the league. They've now been overtaken by Fulham, being the best home team in the league now. So Preston do need to make Deepdale threatening again like they did at the start of the season. I don't think this game's going to be a pretty game. I think it'll be really scrappy, but I think one goal will edge it. And I'm going to say Preston get a 1-0 home victory, and that could be probably the most important victory of Preston's season if they get it. But for me, it's a must win. With Bristol City having a really tough game against Fulham, this could be the perfect opportunity for Preston to breach a gap. Looking at the other games that they've got to play, they still got to play Brentford. Preston need as many wins as they can if they want to keep their place in the playoffs. I think this could be the opportunity for it, and they've got to back their strong record. I'll say a 1-0 home victory to Preston, but obviously I could be wrong. Queensborough Rangers can surprise people. So next I've got Stoke going up against Hull City. Now, what on earth is going to happen with Hull? They're only 2 points away from Stoke, and with Stoke being only 1 point above safety, Hull are only 3 points away from the relegation zone. And with them not winning in their last 10 championship games, they could easily find themselves in the relegation zone if they don't pick their form up and fast. They're going to have to make use of not having Bowen and Grzycki. They are going to find it difficult. Wilkes and Madison are going to have to step up big time. McGuinness is going to have to step up as well. It's unfortunate for them that Tommy's is now injured. As with Stoke, they've not lost in their last 3 games, and defensively, I do have to say Stoke looks so much better under Michael O'Neill. And their home performance, I actually think, have been really, really good. It's been more away from home that I've been a little bit concerned about Stoke lately, but I think with the home performance and I think knowing that they can overtake Hull with a victory, I think Stoke will be right up for this game. I'm going to say a 3-0 home victory to Stoke. I genuinely think that Stoke will be that ruthless, and Hull just seem to be in disarray at the moment. They need to find a win and fast. For me, if Hull get 1 win, it could probably save their season and they can pull a run together. But the longer this losing streak continues, Hull are just going to be sleepwalking into the relegation zone, and they can't afford that. I'll say a 3-0 home victory to Stoke. I expect this game to be very exciting. So as I've got Swansea going up against West Brom in a reverse fixture. West Brom blew Swansea away with a 5-1 home victory. I watched the game live and it was literally like adults versus children. Looking at the form table, West Brom had a strong run of form. However, they lost recently at the Hawthorns against Wigan. And obviously they're going to have to be going back from an FA Cup defeat against Newcastle. West Brom did well to try and forge a late comeback, scoring 2 goals pretty late on. However, Newcastle got the game wrapped out, Miguel Almiron being the difference. So I feel like Swansea probably could be the more energised side going into this game. And at times I think Swansea have had positive performances. They've just sometimes not been clinical. I think Ryan Brewster will be a strong talent for Swansea. He's looked sharp every game he's played. Conor Gallagher and Andre Ayew play off each other well as well. There's so much quality in that team. If they just improve defensively and stay switched on and gain control most of the game, Swansea could be very dangerous. I think there'll be many goals in this game. I'm going to say a 2-2 draw. I think this will be a very tightly contested game. For me, I think because West Brom will be fatigued and the fact they did lose last weekend as well, I'm not too confident that West Brom are going to go back to winning ways. And as with Swansea, I think they'll be up for this game. I'll say a 2-2 draw. I hope for a very entertaining game. Undoubtedly, probably one of the most important games, this relegation battle between Wigan and Luton Town. Luton have only won 3 times away from home all season. So Luton are probably going to be underdogs going into this game. As with Wigan, they've managed to win 3 games in a row, which has really silenced my original prediction of them getting relegated in 23rd. Obviously, there's no guarantees, but they've now amassed 40 points, which I think was their target. The fact they've now got 10 games left to try and enhance on that, I have to say fair play, Wigan and Paul Cook. You really got your act together when you needed it. I have to say from all over the field, I actually think that Wigan have been really good. I think Balogun, Kipra, Jay Dunkley defensively have been terrific. Marshall in goal, he's had a revelation. And I'll even praise the likes of Jamal Lowe, who works really, really hard and doesn't necessarily get all the credit that he deserves either. Kiefer Moore recently as well has been absolutely terrific. That backheel goal against Reading was absolutely sublime. But I think this game will be tight. I think Luton will have a bit of fight about them. They showed that when they drew against Stoke City. Probably disappointed they did not win at home, but Stoke were keeping a really tough, compact line, and Luton did struggle to break that down. But they stuck to it and Luton got rewarded for it. And I think if they keep going, I think Wigan will be punished for it. I think this will be a 1-1 draw. I can't quite separate these sides. I probably would edge Wigan if I were to have an alternative result, but I think Luton will have something about them. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw but I'm really hyped to see the outcome of this game. Luton could really put pressure on the other relegated teams if they can win this game. So our final game on Saturday is a Yorkshire derby between Leeds and Huddersfield Town. I'm really intrigued to see the outcome of this game. Obviously, this will be the second game that Kiko Casilla is not going to play in. I think Meslier is still going to keep his place in goal. I think he will face a bit of a tougher test against a Huddersfield side that could have a little bit of confidence of having back-to-back wins. Against Hull, he did not have much to do. But going to Huddersfield, they managed to beat Charlton by 4-0, so they'll be in so much confidence leading up to this game. Leeds dealt with Huddersfield quite comprehensively in December time when they beat them 2-0 at the John Smith Stadium. I do think a similar pattern will come to place. Leeds have won 4 games in a row, 4 clean sheets in a row as well. So I think defensively, Leeds have really sorted themselves out. I think there may be enough goals about Leeds. I feel like that they're going to start scoring more goals now, and that's been my concern of Leeds recently, if they could score consistently. I think they will do now. I'm going to say Leeds win by 2-0. I think they'll keep another clean sheet as well. I think overall, the best team at this moment of time, in based of form, is Leeds. I'll say a 2-0 home victory to Leeds. But Huddersfield can surprise people with likes of Toffolo, Bakuna, who was terrific last game against Charlton, Colin Grant, Steve Mounier. They could all offer a masterclass. But I'm really excited to see the outcome of this derby. Speaking of derby, they have the last game in the weekend played on a Sunday against Blackburn Rovers. Blackburn at the moment are undefeated in their last 5 games, but they have drawn 3 games in a row. And if they were to convert a couple of these draws into wins, who knows, Blackburn could have been in the playoffs. And I think Blackburn do have a second chance with this, especially if Preston and Bristol City drop points this weekend. As with Derby, they're currently 13th place, only 5 points behind Blackburn, however. So if they could beat Blackburn, they can only reduce the gap to 2 points. And I think with 51 points, that should guarantee top half of the table after this weekend of Championship football. Derby have had a pretty strong home record. They're undefeated in their last 6 home matches. So Blackburn are definitely not going to find it easy to beat Derby, even though they do have a strong record against Derby, winning 4 times out of their last 6 meetings against each other. So if you outweigh the positives and the negatives on both these sides, I think both these sides may cancel each other out. I'm going to say it'll be a very high scoring 2-2 draw. I think this is a good pick for Sunday's game, actually. I'll say 2-2. Let me know what you think in the comments. But there you have it. That wraps it up for my championship prediction. On the left side of the screen right now is what the table would look like if all of my score predictions came true. If all of my score predictions came true, then I need to start betting or something. I'm definitely not going to get all of these right, but I try my best, let me tell you. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. My last review did not seem to be enjoyed as much as it has done in the past, but I hope that maybe this video would have been better for you. So, hope I've made you happy. If you guys liked what you see, you want to see more championship content, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. Please subscribe if you haven't done, or if you're new around here, all of that would be terrifically appreciated. And please share this video and this channel to as many football fans or championship fans or anyone that you can. All of that would be terrifically appreciated. But apart from that, guys, that wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, take care.